Two.
Hello, and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. My name is Jammer Hammer, and that over there. What's your name, David?
A danger duck is my call sign.
What's going on, man?
Not much. Just been doing a little gaming this morning and enjoying the weekend. This very morning, yes.
Oh, what do you play?
Well, I've been playing. Oh, I started The Legend of Korra. Our listeners told me that game existed in our Design Your Best Games.
Yeah, how was it?
Disappointing only because Steam and Windows 10 seem to be conspiring against me. When I load the game up, it goes unable to read save file. I'm like, that's a good sign. So I spent about 2 hours this morning troubleshooting it, and I could not find a way to save my game on Steam.
You're wrong.
Oh.
That's not why you dislike it. You dislike it because it has a strong female lead. You see, I'm going to tell you what you think rather than you tell me.
Oh, man. I was excited. For the Steam had a tag that said female protagonist. I was like, oh, good. I'm excited to play this game.
That's just brainwashing from your life as a privileged white male.
Oh, fuck. You're right.
All joking aside, you are seriously an asshole. No, I'm of course being a little silly. You like it because you're a misogynist. No, yeah, that's good. I'd like to hear how it is. Does it get good reviews? I haven't even looked it up.
There were like 6 reviews on Steam, and they were all positive. So I was looking forward to it. It's only it was $8 on Amazon, so I was like, easy risk. But
yeah,
because
you gotta pirate that. Yeah, gotta pirate that, dude. Did you hear? Like all the pirating sites are down right now. Like all the big ones. The Pirate Bay,
from the DNS hack on Friday.
Is that right? I don't know. I know that they're also supposed to be getting shut down. There's rumors about it for a while, so there's going to be an age where that's just not a thing anymore, I think, maybe.
Well, that's fine. I don't use them anyway. But the problem... I know, that was a selfish thing to say. What about all those poor people who use them? Those poor, innocent hackers who are stealing games. That was insensitive.
Oh, no. I know I'm an asshole because here's what happened. I was like, I want to get a PlayStation. And, we'll talk about this a little bit later. But I was like, I want to get a PlayStation, but I don't want to pay all that money for those games. And some of it is true. Like I do, sometimes I occasionally pirate things, and then I hopefully buy it afterwards. But I haven't always been faithful to that, just because that's how behaviorism works. Why would you do that? But for the most part, I do. I'll purchase it. I'll go ahead and buy it. In fact, I bought multiple copies of things before because.
Oh, but while I'm thinking that, by the way, if you're planning on buying Fallout 4, it's on sale right now for 50% off.
No, I'm never going to buy that game.
Okay.
I only spent like 40 hours on it, so I don't think it's really worth it.
No, 40 hours is not a lot.
Yeah, that being like probably the most egregious example of me buying things. But like Endless Legend I bought after I pirated it because I don't like being an RTS guy. Like I like some RTSs, but some I don't. It's like one of these weird markets. But anyway, point is, I went on there to check out a game called Alan Wake. Have you heard of that game?
No.
Oh, it's like a sleeper hit. Like it was a long time ago, and it's supposed to has like a good mechanic. And every time I hear that, I'm always like, because it's like No Man's Sky, where if it's a gimmick, people don't understand how. That was about a terrible thing to say. I was about to say how stupid they are, but people don't understand why they do things a lot of the times, and so or they don't think things through. They don't analyze it. So they're like, that sounds like it's going to be a great game, and then they get there and they're like, hey, what the hell? Like, there's a company in the UK. There's a guy who's suing them for false advertising. I was like, I don't know how the advertising can get any more real than it was.
Yeah,
it was literally just a guy flying around in space. But anyway, so I was concerned that Alan Wake. I was like, I don't know. I want to buy that game because it's a small indie, or not indie, but it was a kind of a love.
One of those small studios. It's especially vulnerable to piracy.
Yeah, I know. So I was gonna pirate it first, and and then no, I was just gonna try like the first like 10 minutes, right? Because I can't find a demo anywhere, and if it's good, if the mechanic is actually good and worthwhile, I'm definitely buying it because that's the kind of game I like to get behind. Things like Skyrim, fuck Skyrim. Although I bought that too. Fuck, I did. I didn't want to but I played it so much. I was like, all right, fuck. I didn't play it that much.
Skyrim at this point you can pick up for $5 on a Steam sale. It's not a huge risk.
Hey, did you see that? Speaking of Nintendo Switch, did you see that on the? They were playing that on the Nintendo.
Yeah, I saw that. Should we go into that? Should we go into the? This is for those of you who haven't figured it out. This is a news and reviews episode because we haven't done one in a while, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Nah, I figure we'll just let's put up this title and then just never talk about any of that stuff. I kind of like that.
Oh my, yeah.
Let's talk about our days. I mowed the lawn the other day.
Oh, nice.
No, I guess we can talk about games. Yeah, what do you want to start off on, man? There's a ton of shit.
Let's start off with the reviews. What have you been playing?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, not Alan Wake, I'll tell you that much. Am I right? Right? No, I played that new Hitman game quite a bit. That game is fucking fun. I bought it. I did, David. I bought it. I bought it for the full price.
It passes the non-piracy test, so definitely.
Oh, you know what shouldn't have passed the non-piracy test? Fucking Warhammer Total War.
You liked that one. You were telling me how much fun it was.
I know, but I'll never play it again because just like all the Total Wars that I bought all of them. I bought Rome twice because back in the day, Rome Total War I bought it as a PC game at a gaming store, and then I lost that thing, and then I got this new computer, and then I was like, damn it, I want to play that game again, and so I bought it again, and I played it like twice.
Wow,
so
that's some integrity to buy it twice.
Yeah, also because I lost the CD, but yeah, it's definitely integrity. No, Hitman, dude, this game, it's fun. Okay, so first of all, another funny story. These people who are reviewing in the UK, you can actually there's like a whole commission that does false advertising, like it's a big thing, and you just alert them and they have to investigate it. And so they're currently investigating No Man's Sky. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But previously, they investigated Hitman Absolution for promoting violence against women. Somebody made that, like somebody bought into the Nita Sarkeesian bullshit on that game. Not that all of her stuff is bullshit, but that game being violent, like promoting violence against women is so stupid. That argument is one of her shining examples of where she kind of fucked up. But yeah, and of course they were like, yeah, if we played through the entire game, we looked at the materials, there's nothing in here that suggests that, and people got real butthurt about that. But anyway, Hitman, this one, the new one, is really fun, man. I like it a lot. It's they did a couple things that I like better. One is, ever since Assassin's Creed 1, where you could blend in with the group, although it was a gimmicky mechanic, I didn't really love that, because you just walk in and you're like, and who can't tell that you're not a monk? There's like a bunch of friars, and then there's you with like two swords hanging from you and a pistol.
But your hood's up.
Yeah, but your hood's up. And you're like, you got your little hands crossed, and they're like, I saw him murder someone, but now he's praying, so there's no way that's him.
Couldn't be that guy.
It's so
He's so pious.
But in this, like, if you do anything curious or weird, I mean, obviously, if you like break a window, people are gonna, alert guards and stuff. That'll
strangle a stripper.
Yeah, strangle stripper, because that's the point of the game. It's Hitman strangling stripper
strangler
simulation. Yeah, super stripper strangler. Anyway, no, but if you even like bump into someone, and it depends on your outfit and stuff too. But it's this whole social mechanic. The game isn't about, like, the first couple ones. Sometimes it'd be about getting in the right spot and sniping someone. And this, you can still do that. That's the rewarding part. I found this sweet little spot that I can finish the mission with. But other than that, it's like finding all these. It's more like a social thing. It's really fun. It's fun. Like, I don't know. And there's so many different ways to do it. Holy cow, there's so many different ways. So it's really rewarding. You just start wandering around. The stages are much bigger than they ever were. And so you just start wandering around. One's in Paris, France. I'm saying that slowly because I'm not sure, not because I don't, not because I just had this. I didn't just stroke out.
I'm familiar with the city. Yes, I've heard of it. Not Paris, Texas.
No, not Paris, Texas. Paris, I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because for the fashion, there's a fashion show, and you got to take out like the lead designer and his wife. And there's so many ways. There are thousands of different ways to do it. And I'm not even exaggerating, because online they've got these things called contracts, where after you complete the mission, however you want to do it, and however many different ways you can go online, and then there'll be challenges. They're called contracts, and it'll say, kill this guy only using like a battle axe. And I'm like, what the fuck? There's a battle axe? And so, you have to go back through, and you got to find the battle axe, and you have to find a way to get near him holding a battle axe. So it ends up being a pretty fun game overall. I like it. I'm a fan. So I'll stop talking about that, though. What are you playing? Or what did you play?
Well, I tried to play Legend of Korra, like I said, but because Windows 10 and OneDrive, I don't know. It's not cooperating, so I couldn't get very far into it, because when it's not saving your game, you lose heart. You're like, I'm just going to do this all again next time I play. Uh-huh. So I'll probably have to buy it on PS4, which I should have done in the first place.
Don't buy it. Don't buy games, David.
Sorry. I'll probably have to pirate it on PS4 somehow. But I have been playing Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, and I've talked about this before, but I'm still having a lot of fun with it. Like, the world is really fun. It's like this It takes place 50 years after what they call the Orbital Revolution, where they found this ancient technology of it's basically steampunk. They unearthed steampunk, and then it changed everything. So now we've got airships, we've got cannons, we've got tanks, but it's still like a fantasy setting, but like 50 years after gunpowder, basically.
I like how you say what you call that. Every time I hear that, it reminds me of that Rick and Morty episode with the gas, where he's like, "I am what you call human, of what you call two, of what you call years, of what you call."
Yeah.
Like, I love that Dan Harmon recognized that, and then
How do you say synonyms?
Because isn't it absurd that like they can use all words, and for some reason they don't say what you call, but then they say it on one, and people are like, "Oh, that's so smart," because he's thinking differently. Sorry, go ahead. So weird. It's what you call a game.
It's what you call an orbital revolution, but. So the world building is really interesting. You're just kind of running around in this world of this weird, fancy steampunk world. But the cool thing is it's a turn-based RPG that uses positioning. So you're just running around and trying to like if you can get far away enough from people, you won't get caught in each other's splash effects, or they have to go a little bit farther to get to you. So you can use ranged weapons effectively. But it's just a fun JRPG that just came out of nowhere that I had never heard of until I kept seeing it pop up on these like top 25 JRPGs you should play lists. And
I'll have to pirate this. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, or it's pretty cheap.
How much is it?
I got it on sale for $5, but I think it's.
Oh, they're not gonna pay me to play it though, right?
No.
Okay,
no,
then
definitely pirated. Yeah. But
So,
it's on Steam, and I don't know if you're a fan of JRPGs and you just haven't had like a good classic JRPG experience. Like, it's got a lot of little side missions you can do, little side quests and little bounties, and you basically the thing is you're in an adventurers guild called the Bracers Guild, and so you can pick up side jobs along the way of the main one. So if you like to do stuff like that, I do. The one complaint I have is there's some time sensitive stuff that if you miss it, you don't get it anymore, and then it ruins your 100% completionist obsessions. So you got to play it with a guide just to make sure you don't miss little jobs on the side. But beyond that, it's super fun.
Well, and obviously the fact that you paid for it, that's a complaint, right?
Yeah. The one downside is I had to spend $9.99 on it.
A little indie studio, you don't need to give them your money. They've had enough money. Well, that's fun, dude. I love turn-based stuff. Just kind of looking at a little video while you're talking rather than listening to you. Yeah. And looks pretty good. No, I'm listening to. I got the sound off.
It's got a good soundtrack too. And
oh, well, let me mute you then.
Yeah, just mute me for the soundtrack.
Oh man. That's fun, man. It seems like it has a lot of cutscenes. Is the story good?
Yeah. You're basically the idea is you're doing a on foot tour of the kingdom and just picking up jobs along the way as your junior bracers. You want to become like full-fledged members of the guild. So like this is how you earn your credibility, by getting recommendations from every area. Kind of like Pokemon gyms. You gotta get those badges.
Yeah, or like I've been groomed since I was quite young. Is like in the Heroes Guild, I had to do all these things to prove myself, become better and better.
Slaughtered 20 rabbits for King Gavilan.
Yeah, I was like a flunky, and then I was a toady, and then I was an initiate or something like that. There's all these like terrible terms.
Lackey.
Yeah, lackey. And I got so excited when I got promoted.
I'm a lackey, first
You're
class.
Now our lead toady. Yeah, and I'm like, oh. Just start shitting on everyone else. That's just natural, man.
One cool thing about this that other RPGs don't do is like you play as two main characters. There's like a brash tomboy girl and then like a more thoughtful, well-read guy, and they're foster siblings. They've grown up together. They've got a good rapport. But
can't have just one strong female lead, David. Can you seriously play a game, David, where there's a girl?
Sorry.
Have you ever played a girl?
I mean, sometimes. In this case, you're playing a guy and a girl. It's kind of like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, where you can switch between Evie and Jacob Fry. But there's a cast of other characters, but instead of, like, I don't know about you, but when you're playing a JRPG, one of the hardest things for me is, like, there's 10 characters, but you only get 3 in your party or 4 in your party. So choose wisely. I'm like, oh, no, I got to keep them all the same level now. I don't know how to do it. This one, the story, like, every area you get, you team up with local bracers in the area, and then when you leave, they leave the party quite naturally, so you never have to worry about party management. You just kind of pick up and leave characters throughout the game. So it kind of takes the burden of choice away from me, and I can just focus on my 2 main characters.
I like that. I was replaying through some Warcraft 3, and when you lose a character, they had this mechanic. This is like kind of revolutionary at the time, but this should be standard. Is when your character leaves, they drop all their items first. That used to bug the shit out of me when I was playing a game, and they were like, "Oh, Eris died. Sorry, you don't get her
Sorry,
stuff.
lost all your stuff."
You got a lot of good stuff on her, but I think that happened in Final Fantasy with 3 or 6. Didn't that happen with like Sabin or something? I can't remember if it was that Final Fantasy. I played like all those similar times.
Hmm.
And there was one where I lost all my stuff. And anyway, it happens in RPGs all the time. Bugs me.
Yeah, they'll take their stuff with them, and you're like, "Come back! I just bought that for you."
Yeah, or right before Eris dies, you like bought her all the best stuff. You're like, yes, now we've got a healer.
You know what I never got back though is all the hours of experience points I threw into her.
you ground her up. That was your.
Oh yeah, she was my primary healer. I was like, me and Eris all the way to the end, healing me, healing me the last disc.
I never experienced that because literally while I was hanging out with JT, I saw that scene and he's like, oh my god! And I was like, what? And he's like, he's with the sword on her, killed her. And I was like, so? And he's like, she's like a huge character. So when I started playing the game, I was like, oh, there's a girl's gonna die. So I never leveled her, bought her anything. I was like, I guess it's Tifa.
I know. I was like going on the dates with her and stuff. I was like, all right, sorry, Tifa, got a date with Eris tonight. Gonna really invest myself in this character.
Yeah. And how shitty would that be to be Tifa when Eris dies? All of a sudden you come knocking around her door. Yep. She's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Hey, I actually named Tifa Plan B when I got to rename all the characters.
You just call him.
Oh, but like with Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the development studio that brought it to America is Xseed, and they do really great translations. So one of the good things about this game is like every NPC you can talk to has their own thing going on. Like you can tell they're doing things behind the scenes, like their whole life doesn't revolve around you, and they'll say different things depending on when you talk to them in the game. So like it's never a waste of time to talk to people in the cities or just like explore and talk to people. You'll sometimes meet someone and then like you'll meet them in three cities later doing something else. You're like, oh hey, I remember you. You were going on a pilgrimage to like find these certain flowers, and you'll talk to him again. He's like, yeah, I went up this mountain, and so like they've all got their shit going on behind the scenes, and it feels like a big world that way. It feels like this world that you're touring, you're part of, but it doesn't revolve around you. And I was like that. It's like in a D&D campaign when you feel like if you don't do something and you come back 3 days later, that city's got different things going on that you missed out on because the time is still passing. So this game does a really good job with that.
Oh, that's what I like about the and there are a few different worlds that do this, but the RuneScape, what the hell? The what's the main, like one of the biggest worlds in it's got the red wizards and stuff, that setting?
Forgotten Realms,
yeah. I kept thinking of RuneScape. I watched a video of that recently because people keep talking about it like it's one of the greatest games, and I ran into someone who said it again. I was like, what is this fucking game? So I went and watched it. But Forgotten Realms, yeah, it's like it's got like little notes for DMs, and it's like, oh, if they don't do this is what's going to happen in this world. And I'm like, oh, that's fun. I like that stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's
about Legend of Heroes.
Yeah, it's a spin-off of a spin-off of a spin-off. Apparently the company that did this like made a game, and then like that was really popular, so they spun off a different series of games, and they spun off a different series off of that. So it all takes place in one world, but it's just a bunch of different games around it. And Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky is a good place to jump into that world because it's the first game of that spin-off series, so you don't have to worry about backstory or anything. You can just learn as you go. And like you find newspapers, like it's cool because every so often you check the newsstand, there's a new newspaper that comes out with like the events that you were just involved in are in the papers. You can read about like what you did. It's like young bracers saved the kidnapped hostages and no casualties, and you're like, oh, that was me, I made the papers. Or there's like a series, there's like a novel that takes place within the game that you can read. Like chapters come out every month, and you can read the new chapters of like this novel that has nothing to do with the storyline except it takes place in that world. So really, like if you're into world building, it's a really fleshed out, great world.
I do, man. Like that's actually something I didn't love about Skyrim that I thought was weird because I love it in all the other games. I love like Witcher. You see those little notes and you read them. They don't do anything for you. You just learn more about the world. And it'll be like, oh, On Dragons is what a book will be called, and I just pick it up and start reading it. I love that stuff because I've done world building before and I really enjoyed it, and so it's cool to see that from someone else because they lovingly thought of this and they were like, oh man, I just couldn't fit it into the world and make it make sense, fit it into the game. I'll just write a little book on it, and talk about it. So yeah, that stuff's fun to read because it's like, oh, this guy lovingly crafted this, and it didn't show up. But in Skyrim, I never connected with the plot. I think I got in too late or something. The whole world, because they're like, oh, this takes place in the frozen north. I'm like, I don't know where anywhere else is, so that's fine with me. And they're like, well, but think about what's going on in the background with the Empire. I was like, I don't know. Something weird? I don't know.
Something's happening.
But I had a lot of failed starts. I tried to get into 3, not Elder Scrolls, Morrowind. Tried to play that. Nope. Then I tried to play Oblivion. Nope. Then Skyrim, and it's not my thing.
Yeah, I think I started with Daggerfall, and I tried on and off with that series, and I just never found a game that like captured my attention.
I keep trying like so many different things, but I don't. The first person fantasy thing is just never sat well with me, even in old school games.
Yeah, Bethesda, like I want to like them because they're a cornerstone of the gaming industry. Like everybody, that's like a good like point of contact. Like so you're like, hey, have you played video games? Yeah, I play Fallout 3. You know, like everybody's played a Bethesda game. But
Not
even
bought it.
today,
But, yeah.
even today, like I turned on Steam, the first thing that popped up was like Fallout 4. It's now only $20 or $25, and I was like, oh, that's reasonable. I should buy that. And I looked at it, and I was like, I'm never gonna play this though. I've got so many other games that are more interesting to me. So I just didn't like. I just can't. I want to, but I can't.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like Bethesda's good at one thing, world building. Everything else they're just terrible at. I don't think
They're good
people
at world
understand.
building, but they're not good at getting me invested in their world.
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah.
But we've talked
Oh,
about this before. Yeah, it's one of our unpopular opinions.
Speaking of world building, I've been playing Warcraft 3. I got back into that. I don't know why. I really don't. I think something spawned. I don't remember what day this was or exactly what it was. So I'm going to tell a story about it anyway. No, I don't remember. So I was like, man, I want to play through that world again. I can't remember that story very well. And so I went and like loaded that up and started playing through it, and it's got good parts. It's got good parts. It's got it wasn't as bad as I remembered. There's still like the Arthas turn is the least believable part of that entire story. It's
But
so
my,
weird.
my favorite level in that game, like the one I had the most fun with, was when Arthas is weighing lace to the Elven City, and just like because it's where you get necromancers for the first time, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, you can auto cast Raise Dead. So my goal was just to like flood the map with skeletons.
Yeah, yeah, that game. It's pretty fun. After you become, undead. No spoilers. No
Yeah.
spoilers. You
After the Blizzard hero becomes corrupted by the very evil he was fighting against.
yeah. Then yeah, you definitely it becomes really fun. And still, there's awesome moments in there, like the Sylvanas moment. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And it's a side option. You don't even have to do it, but it's canon now that she's an undead queen or whatever. But on this, it's a side mission. I didn't remember that. So it was like you can kill Sylvanas if you want. And I was like, I'm coming for
The
that.
cool
bitch.
thing is, she started off as a hero and became corrupted by the very evil she was fighting against.
Yeah, which is weird because that's also what happened to literally everyone else in that game and also in that world. But
And also in every Blizzard game ever.
oh
The
my
whole
gosh,
story of Diablo.
Chris Metzen stepping down. My goodness, people are like, he was such a great storyteller. I was like, he had one really good story. Yeah, and
Over and over again.
yeah. No, I'm kidding. Some of his stuff is really good too. There were other parts of that were okay, but damn,
Yeah.
was he just the trope master?
Like when Kerrigan got left behind and then was corrupted by the very Zerg she was fighting against.
Yeah, I've heard of that story once.
That was really good.
Yeah, I like that part. I didn't see it coming.
I like the Titan Sargeras, who is the main bad guy in Warcraft. He started off as a Titan, but then was corrupted by the Chaos.
Yeah, there's a couple forced ones. They like that story so much, it just feels forced. Like the Kerrigan thing, when they left her behind, I was like, oh, okay, she's gonna become a Zerg person, cool. And then and then she did. But like on the Arthas thing, my goodness. Okay, so it starts out and he's like, hello, Uther. I have great respect for you. You're a silver hand. You're the silver hand paladin. You're like a legend. And he's like, yes, boy, I'm gonna bring you out here. And
I am
teach
the
you.
Obi-Wan to your Anakin. This will only end well.
Yeah, yeah. So then he's like, yeah, just follow me out here and just let's hang out. And you're all like, oh, I'm super respectful for you. But then the next campaign, you're also super respectful. But the third one, all of a sudden he gets an attitude. And I'm like, well, if this isn't, he's like, damn you, Uther, you're always trying to take the high ground or something. And I was like,
They've
what is-
always been jealous of my powers.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he does. And then he just like overrules Uther. He's like, you know what? As the prince, the crown prince, I dispel you or I disband you and the silver hand. And then Uther's like, what boy? How good?
And then he kills all the villagers. He kills the women
That
and
part
the
is-
children.
that part is so bad because you start the mission and before the mission, it's the cinema scene. It's like, or the cutscene, not cinema scene, and it's like, oh, this plagued grain got out to the city, right? And you're a prince. You're supposed to be thinking about how you rule people, right?
Mm.
This plagued grain gets out. Do you call FEMA? No, you call the army and you just slaughter them because the plague grain gets out and then it goes, what happens with the grain? Oh, well, they turn undead somehow. I don't really understand that, but whatever. They turn undead. Okay, so that's a pretty shitty thing. And then you're like, yeah, we're going to have to go through the city and kill them all here in 15 seconds or 15 minutes or whatever. And he's like, no, I'll kill them first. And you're like, okay. I can see that decision, I guess, if you're trying to save them from a bad... I mean, I guess most of the time, usually you wait till the person dies and you shoot him in the head, right? If it's a zombie, you're like, okay, he passed away. It's only a few minutes, or you only have a few seconds. Hurry and kill him, But the weird part is you're doing it in response to Mal'Ganis, this guy you hate, this demon guy, who's like, I'm going to wipe out that city before they turn into zombies because I work for the Lich King who wants people to turn into zombies, and I'm going to stop that for some reason. And so already you're like, what the fuck is Mal'Ganis doing? Why does he want to kill people? I mean, his whole point is to spread this. He was behind spreading the grain, the guy he worked for, right? So what's the point of spreading the grain and then killing everyone before they turn?
I think the point is they want to have a level where there's a race against someone else.
Yeah, hey, that's what happens. So, then you have the same logic, but you hate Mal'Ganis and you're trying to do the same thing he is, and Mal'Ganis works for the Lich King and he's killing him before they can turn into undead, and the whole thing's stupid.
I think Chris Metzen was just like in a college creative writing class, and he's just like reading Nietzsche. He was just like, those who fight monsters.
Yeah,
beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. For when you gaze too long into the abyss stares back at you. That's brilliant. And then he just made it his goal to make that every story he ever writes.
He's got it tattooed on him somewhere, guaranteed. But no, but what doesn't make sense is the storyline is right there. He could have done it. The Frostmourne thing makes sense. The Frostmourne is this sword, right? Frostmourne, and it corrupts you. The very power that you fight. No, but it makes sense because you're backed into this corner and you're like, oh shit! And these orcs are coming to take your land, and you've been told by a prophet you got to get out of here. There's no way you can save your land, and you're a headstrong prince. All this makes sense. This makes sense without the undead thing, or without him being an asshole, turning into an asshole thing, because he was an asshole before he got the Frostmourne. He started like being crazy and corrupt and weird. And I was like, no, you can make a totally normal switch by being like, oh hey, let's go get that MacGuffin. Once we get that MacGuffin, we're going to be super powerful, right?
I think they're trying to lay the groundwork that, yes, the Frostmourne corrupted him, but he was already corrupt to begin with. Like, he was a fallen person who was already on that path, and the Frostmourne was just the last step on that journey.
Which is fine, but then in the first two campaigns, why was he so respectful? Shouldn't he have been brash? Like, wouldn't that have made more sense?
Everyone's respectful when it's easy, but when you disrespect, when you disagree with your mentor, like, that's when that personality like flares up.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't buy it.
You're so skeptical.
No. I mean, it's right now. What sounds like you're doing is motivated reasoning. You're telling me reasons why it can make sense, and I'm like, maybe.
No, I'm telling you why it did make sense to me at the time. Not while.
Oh no, at the time maybe, but try replaying it. It's terrible. That part. There are parts that are great. Like, there are great parts. Like, Jaina's storyline is cool. It's she's this kid from a mage. She's a nobody, and then she begins falling into power.
I will say, I study story. That story did not clash with my sensibilities, but except for the main thing is they keep repeating it. Just do it once. Just do it with Arthas or with someone. Like, don't do it every single villain. It's enough.
Well, now that you have studied stories, you should go back with your new fresh eyes and take a look then, because I think it's awful. But anyway, Warcraft 3, played some of that. It's pretty fun. Yeah, I also played Plague Evolved. You ever played that game? It used to be like a browser game.
No. Oh, yeah. I played it on my phone.
That was pretty fun. You definitely are a bad guy. You're a virus that's trying to do different things, and you can be a virus or bacteria or whatever. The funny thing is, this is the only reason why I bring it up. First of all, I played it. But second of all, I was sitting there, and it was like, you can name your disease. And I was like, oh. So I thought about it for a while, and I was like, I don't know, Dirty Dick. And I put Dirty Dick on there. I was like, it'll be some STD. I do that, and then unfortunately, it plasters the name at the top for the entire time you're playing. It's like Dirty Dick. And then you get news updates. It's like, everybody's affected with Dirty Dick. And that's fine. But then my kids came up, and they were like, what are you playing? I was like, oh, just play Evolved. And I forgot it was at the top. And he's like, oh, my God, is it really called that? I was like, oh, shit. Yeah,
there's I have the expansion that lets you make a zombie virus. That one's a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, because like the plague gets a new like vector of zombies, so you have to manage your zombies, and you can evolve the zombies to be different kinds. Like, you can get special zombies and stuff. So the problem is I can never beat it because fucking Greenland always holds out. Like, the zombies just can't get over there, and so it's really hard to spread it up there.
Yeah. I think I found the hacks way to beat it though, so now it's not any fun anymore. Because basically you just kill all the symptoms and increase all the transferability, like however you want to do that, however it spreads, so that everyone gets it before they know, and then you save up all your money and you spend it on killing them.
Right.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Now,
all the conventional diseases you can do that. The zombie virus has like a different winning condition, so it's harder because they can start killing your zombies. And so I haven't yet found the hacks way of beating the expansion. But like yeah, for the viruses and the bacteria and the spores, it's pretty much the same strategy each time.
Sucks 'cause it was really fun before that. I really liked it because, like, you know, the viruses will have a higher chance of like mutating a random symptom, which is fun. And the bacteria are more controlled. You know, it's like you have full control over it. So, but they die easier. So yeah, that part was fun. But then when I realized, oh, you can cancel symptoms, well, of course I'm going to do that. So that's what I did, and then it's totally easy. But anyway, yeah. So those are some games I played, man.
Nice. I haven't playing anything else. I don't know. Legend of Korra, thanks for the recommendation. I do want to play it more. It seemed like it was a fun game. They had like the Bender little sports tournaments in between levels that are fun, and the quality. There's like cutscenes and there's like really good quality animation, and it feels like you're playing the cartoon, which was a great cartoon. But again, fucking PCs. Like this is I love PC. I love PC gaming, but this is my one complaint is like if it doesn't work, it's a nightmare to make it work, and I still cannot make it. If you're lucky and enough people are affected by it, then there's a fix out there somewhere. But apparently, like I only found like 2 people suffering from the same problem as mine, so I can't figure out how to fix it. And it's Activision, so their customer service blows. Like Steam's not going to do anything about it. Yeah. So yeah, meh. Try it again on a PS4 where it just works.
I have that complaint. I also have another complaint that I have to buy the game sometimes.
That's pretty shitty.
Man, yeah, I watched some of this gameplay. This looks sweet. The bending stuff, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, like it's kind of God of War-esque. So you have like strong attacks and weak attacks and dodging, but you can switch between the different bending, and they all have their own like cool pros and cons. So if you can chain them together, it looks like it could be a fun game. I just am not willing to play it long enough to get to that point because I can't save my game. It's very frustrating.
Strong female lead, yeah.
Yeah, that too. Freaking strong female leads. Did you ever watch that show, Legend of Korra?
I did not. I watched Avatar: The Airbender for like a few seasons or something. I can't remember. I'm probably 3/4 of the way through it or 2/3 of the way. I never finished it yet though, so I didn't quite get to Korra.
It's interesting because it takes place 50 years after the original series, and it's a cool way of looking at how cultures evolve under. It's like, okay, we've got this bending technology. Now let's make an industrial revolution kick in, and then see what the world looks like after that. So it kind of evolves into a steampunk setting. I guess I like steampunk. It's the theme of this episode.
Yeah, I love steampunk. So cool. Yeah, that's good. Cool.
So news,
man. Oh, geez, there's not much.
Yeah. So the big news. I'm teaching school. You know, second period. This kid walks in and says, "Did you see Nintendo let out a YouTube of their new system?" And I remembered them doing that, but I was at work, so I hadn't seen it yet. So before class started, we both watched it, and it got me very excited. It got a lot of people very pumped.
People losing their shit over this. I wasn't impressed. Why? I don't understand.
I feel like not impressed is the theme of your episode today.
Well, no, I'm impressed by a lot of things. Is that true? I'm impressed by some things, but I don't know why. It didn't click with me. It's like, but I understand that I'm probably weird. It's like Skyrim. Like it's not my thing, but I realize that it's probably a great game. I just don't like it. You know.
Okay, here's what I like. I like that in the past, I've always been keeping up with Nintendo consoles. You know, I even bought the Wii U, which I think you and I were the only ones who bought one. And then I've always been keeping up with the 3DS. I've got a nice like Zelda Gold Edition 3DS. Like it's fun. But now finally, I don't have to buy 2 separate things anymore. They're just converging their development lines into one thing. It's a console and it's the new 3DS at the same time. It's the new handheld. So I can just get the one, and it's going to be great. I can plug it in, take it with me, unplug it, whatever I want.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. You know what it probably is? I don't do a lot of mobile gaming. That's got to be it. I have no games on my phone. I just don't. It's not my thing. So it must have been that.
Yeah, so like, the portable aspect isn't that appealing to you because you're not a portable gamer.
Yeah.
But just for the innovation, like for the design, like Nintendo, they never play arms race with PlayStation and Xbox of like who can squeeze out the most bits and processing power. What they do is they innovate and they find a new way to play games. And sometimes it works out like gangbusters with the Wii. The thing was impossible to buy for a long time because it was such a new innovation. Sometimes it doesn't work out like the Wii U, where they're like, I don't care. It's got an extra screen. Who the fuck cares? It's just a Wii, basically. Mm-hmm. But this, I think, is really interesting the way, like, just from a design perspective, the way it unplugs, the way the controller turns into two smaller controllers if you need to play with a friend. Like, that's a new thing.
Yeah. You have to play with a friend.
Play with a friend. Or the way you can network them together. You can just put them in a little circle and just play, like, on a plane or on a road trip or, that is just from the logistics point of view, I thought that was a cool thing. Seeing the controller come apart and like become two smaller controllers, I was like, it's a cool gimmick. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's innovative. I just don't. I guess people were like losing their mind about it. And I was like, meh. It's like a tablet with a little thing on it. Cool. But anyway. It'll be good. Plus, they were playing Skyrim on it, which, like I said, open or third party. You're like, oh wow! So big titles will be coming to Wii or Nintendo stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, they have released the studios they're going to be partnering with them: Activision, Bethesda, Capcom, Konami, a lot of Sega, a lot of big names. Square Enix. A lot of big names have already like committed to making games for this, which has always been a complaint with the Wii U. Is just it didn't have any third party support.
Yeah.
What we have confirmed at launch is Legend of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild, Dragon Quest XI, Project Sonic 27, Just Dance 27, or 2017 for both of those. And then in the trailer, we saw things that haven't been confirmed but will likely be there, and that's a new Super Mario game, a new Mario Kart game, Skyrim Remastered we saw in the trailer, Splatoon, and NBA 20K17.
Cool. That's good. Yeah, I'm gonna after being burned by the Wii U, I'm gonna wait for this. But I'm not saying burned by the Wii U like I regret the purchase. I love that system, but I just wish I could play other games on it. Yeah, so we'll see. And Nintendo, what is it about them and load screens? Like, if you go into settings, it loads, which is weird to me. Seems like that should be a fix.
Automatic.
Everything loads. Everything loads. It's just weird.
As far as the specs, they've announced they're going to be using a custom NVIDIA mobile Tegra processor. It looks like they're trying to balance like graphical power with battery efficiency. Yeah. So expect something that's less powerful. My guess is less powerful than the PS4, Xbox One, but more powerful than what we've got on the Wii U. Because again, you don't want to like drain your battery like too strong, and you can't play the game for very long on a portable. So we'll see what the battery life is. We don't know very much about it. Again, they've been very secretive up to this point about the system.
Yeah, because graphics are really important to people right now. I mean, that was a big complaint of the Wii. And then the Wii U, they went HD as a default, which is important. And then because other games just look bad when you're in a new generation and then you're playing like old gen. It's like whenever you first went to 1080p on movies. Mm-hmm. Now it's like I don't want to go back. Whenever I watch like old school TV, like if you watch like a 90s cartoon, you're like, oh Jesus, this is bad.
Or if you watch like Seinfeld on Hulu and it's all
it's all shitty.
HD.
That's the thing. Like we don't know what we have until we have it, and then once we do, we're like, oh, I can't live without this. And so,
it ruins us.
So I think that's really important. That and battery life. That's the first thing I thought of was, I'm concerned about the battery being, first of all, getting hot if it's really powerful, but second of all, there being battery life, because if it's going to play like, Skyrim on any setting, I mean, even on a laptop with a massive battery, it's just difficult to keep it going.
The other news so far that we have is they will not be selling the NX or the Nintendo Switch at a loss. Usually with consoles, they sell them they're losing money on each one.
Yeah.
They're actually going to be selling it not at a loss. So expect probably a more expensive price point than what we're used to. Maybe $350 would be my expectation.
Not good. I don't mind paying extra. Honestly, it's usually just one big Christmas purchase or whatever, or one big purchase to buy a console, and then once you do, then it's a series of the games are fine. But I don't mind paying extra if you get more. Like speaking of the PS4 Pro, I think I'm holding out for that because I don't mind paying more. I really don't. Like it's an investment into the future, so probably go ahead and get that.
It looks like there are no plans for backwards compatibility, so don't sell off your 3DSs or Wii U's just yet.
Yeah, which is sad.
And they will be using cartridges instead of discs, which was another thing from the trailer that was a little bit of news.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't notice that. That's weird. Huh.
I can see, like, if you're portable, like, discs just don't have the longevity. Like, they get scratched easily, so I can see cartridges being better for that portable side of it.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to win the console war then?
Well, here's the thing: Nintendo never really, like, they're kind of in their own category anymore. Like, after the N64, they just kind of stopped competing with. Once Microsoft jumped into the fray, they were like, all right, you know what, you guys do that, you guys do you, we're gonna do us. So I've always seen Nintendo as like a tertiary console. It's like, well, you either have a PC or a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, and then you get your Nintendo console for the weird Nintendo exclusives and stuff.
Yeah. So, but what about between PS4 and the Xbox?
I don't know. Right now, I think PS4, just because their VR thing seems to be taking off like gangbusters in Japan. It's selling like hotcakes. And
they just released that, or not released, showed that, you know, the gun attachment or whatever. It's like it's a wireless kind of. It looks like a gun, basically. Kind of. It's like a rhombozoid, maybe, or whatever you call those, a parallelogram. Thanks, ninth grade geometry. But it's got like a little pink ball in the front, you know, so you can sense it. But apparently, it's really, really responsive, and it feels real.
Yeah, I saw a guy playing Hanzo with a modified one to make it a bow and arrow. So he was bow and arrow.
That was a Nerf gun that guy had, or a Nerf bow. That was pretty hilarious. But no, this one's like just a little white round thing, or like a parallelogram type thing. But anyway, yeah. So that, I think if they secure the shooter market, I mean, Microsoft's should be on their back foot right now, thinking, yeah, we need to make one of those, because that's kind of the dream, you know. Like, a lot of people like the current little hand things that a lot of those people have is you know, it's okay. Like Steam, for example, if you want to play on Steam, like, it's like a little, you know, everybody's trying to figure out what to do with the controllers, is all I'm saying. And definitely have an attachment for FPS, because that will be a market that will be big, because virtual reality is fun. You're looking around, you're doing things, but eventually you're going to want to blow some shit up or shoot some shit, because that's fun. You know, it's fun you can't do that in real life. So to go to a gun range and shoot is fun, or to play inside of a game. So I think that's going to give them a heads up, unless Microsoft comes out with a gun attachment like that, which, to my knowledge and from the articles I've read, is not currently something that's been released.
And you got to look at exclusives too. So Microsoft will always have like those Halo and those kind of exclusives.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but PlayStation 4's got Final Fantasy 15 and the new Final Fantasy 7 remake. So it kind of depends on your audience. I think the people who are more into shooters are going to be more attracted to Halo, whereas RPG fans will stick with the PlayStation.
Yeah, I just don't like Microsoft on principle. When they entered the market, they made a lot of decisions that fucked us over quite a bit. Like, the DLC thing was really big with them. They were unabashed about it. Then they did the Xbox Live thing, introduced that to the market. They've done a lot of shit that I don't really care for.
I know, they're like the evil Nintendo, where the innovations are all like making the industry worse for the consumers.
Yeah, so I have a vendetta against them. I probably will never buy a Microsoft Xbox game. Anyway.
So, in other news, and this isn't gaming related, but it made me very excited, Donald Glover of Troy and Abed in the Morning is being cast as Lando Calrissian in the Han Solo prequel movie, where it's about young Han Solo. So I'm very excited to see Donald Glover. I think he's a fantastic actor and just hilarious. He's got a lot of on-screen charisma, and if I could pick anyone to be Lando, like, that's my Lando.
Definitely. That is awesome. I love Donald Glover. That guy, I don't get it, because his stand-up, I didn't find that funny. I mean, it's funny, but it wasn't like as funny as he is just in person. Like, that's what I'm afraid of trying stand-up, is because of that. Like, you watch his clips, his bloopers or outtakes, I guess. You know, the stuff that he'll kind of riff occasionally, and they keep one of them, and then they throw the rest away. The ones they throw away are fucking hilarious. I watched them. I've seen them multiple times, so it shouldn't be that funny anymore. And it's still hilarious, like the stuff this guy does. So
like when he asks Batman if he's his uncle.
Are you my uncle? Yeah, there's this one where there's a prompt, right, in the script, and you're supposed to say, Batman, can I ask you something? Because his friend's dressed up like Batman. He like.
Can I ask you something I always wanted to ask the real Batman?
Yeah, the real Batman, and then he just riffs different things, right? And they kept one of them, but one of them they didn't, or a lot of them they didn't. And one of them was, he was just like, "Are you my uncle?" And they don't look anything alike. He's definitely not African American, right? And so, yeah, it's a fun, that part's kind of funny, but then they start playing out and he's like, "I don't think so." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah." Or he goes, "Yes, son," or something like that. And then they look at each other and he goes, and they start moving each other really closely. And he's like, "Are we about to kiss? Are we kissing right now?" And then they hug or whatever. And then, I don't know. And then all those were hilarious. The ones that he did. I don't know. His delivery is just pretty awesome. Too bad. Hopefully he'll be able to be funny in the Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be modern movies. Ever since Joss Whedon, I think the goal's been to work in a lot of like really good writing and maybe force some comedy into every genre, because Deadpool, Guardians of the Galaxy, the new Star Wars movie, Star Wars 7, was very Whedon-esque in its kind of comedic moments. So I feel like everything is just going to have comedy forced in, whether it belongs there or not now.
I think it definitely should, because it's oh my god, there's so. First of all, even anecdotally, people have figured this out, right? Without needing science, right? They've said, oh, a lot of the reviews will say, "You'll laugh, you'll cry," right? You want a full range of emotions. That's more pleasurable. And then the reason why that is psychologically is because of the contrast effect. Like, it's easy to get a laugh after being dark. So dark humor, like you can introduce it by being dark, and then you say something kind of with some levity to it, and then because they want to get out of that feeling, and laughing naturally allows you to feel a little better. So it's easier to grab a laugh, and then after they laugh, it's easier to feel how dark something is, right? Within proximity of that, like a temporal proximity. So time, I guess. But I don't know why I said that so complicated. Short time after. So anyway, it makes the movie better anecdotally, or not anecdotally, but by lay people, right? And then also, there's a reason for it. There's a psychological reason that it's pretty damn dependable. So you definitely should go for laughs and for some sense of sadness or severity, seriousness. Yeah. Anyway, have you heard about this strike? Video game actors.
Yeah, the voice actors.
Voice actors, yeah.
Screen Actors Guild.
SAG-AFTRA, which is a Screen Actors Guild audio. Why am I trying? I don't remember it. I don't remember what it stands for, but yeah, it's these guys.
It's a branch of SAG, which is the Screen Actors Guild.
And who cares so much, except that the industry, the video game industry, has been releasing statements, and one of them says, "We've negotiated in good faith for the past 18 months with SAG-AFTRA union leaders and are making progress toward a new contract. We are deeply disappointed to learn today of the union's threatened strike and its unilateral violation of the mutually agreed upon news blackout on negotiation discussions." Well, obviously you haven't been doing well by them if they're striking. I get, just in general, I don't have a lot of tolerance for corporations that don't take care of, or that don't look out for the little guy. That pisses me off, because fundamentally, ever since I took moral philosophy, that's just immoral. And people don't realize it because they're so used to it. They're like, "Well, they're just out to make a buck." And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not okay. Like, if you owned a business and you knew that the people you were working for weren't able to pay their families, you're telling me that you'd be able to sleep at night? Like, yes, over time you would be, just like at war. The first time you go to war, it's terrifying for the first couple of weeks, and then you sleep fine. But that doesn't mean war is not disturbing, because it is, right? Like, same thing with this. Like, just because you can sleep at night eventually doesn't mean it's a morally good thing. And so, and video games in general, it's kind of like the UFC is going through this sort of thing too, where they just sold their company for more than most sports franchises get sold for. It's like $4 billion, right? And then the fighters are like, "What the hell? We're getting paid like $10,000 for a fight, or sometimes like $20,000 or $30,000, right? And we can't. And you guys are getting $4 billion. You guys just made your, the top brass is getting paid like hundreds of millions. Fuck that, right? So same thing here. It's like, dude, you're a video game industry. You're making tons of money. You can't pay your voice actors in non-voice acting. I don't want to offend anyone. It's your stars get paid tons. Not all of your people, but your stars do.
Yeah,
so
your Troy Bakers and your like top tier talent.
Yeah, they're a heavy investment for the development costs of a movie, right? If you're going to buy a, Anthony Hopkins or a Donald Glover, one of the greatest actors of all time, you're going to pay him top notch. But but here it's not the same. From what I heard from podcasts and then those panels at like Comic-Con, it pays okay, but it's not. You have to stay very active to make a living off it.
I think we're going to see a lot more uprising. Like, one thing that Bernie Sanders' campaign did, I think, is make these issues more visible to people who don't think about things like pay inequality and the top 0.1%, like those kind of things that we're all vaguely aware of, but we just never really cared about. I think we're going to see a lot more, at least internet outrage against these sorts of things when corporations try to just squeeze every penny they can for their board members.
It's relatively inevitable. Not relatively, it is, if you believe any of the Marxian stuff, because just over time, people are going to notice the income inequality has gotten worse and worse. And, like, you know, look at like the average CEO pay, how it's gotten worse and worse. And entertainment industry is one of the worst criminals? No,
Culprits?
Propagators? Yeah, culprits of this. There you go. I have the best words. I have all the words. One of the worst culprits. And so you have to have someone like a Screen Actors Guild looking out for the little guy. Yeah. So just over time, you know, it's a boiling kettle. I mean, it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and they're making more and more money, and these guys are still making the same. Eventually, someone's going to notice, and it's going to be a big enough gap that they're going to be like, wait just a fucking second, right? So with the video game industry, it's taken off since 2008. In 2008, it was the largest industry. If I recall, it was 2008. I wrote this in my thesis. It was the largest entertainment industry. It overtook all the other ones. So the fact that they're making way more than someone would on a movie, and the actors aren't making as much, is a problem, right? Yeah. That's not okay. And the Amy Hennig, do you know who she is?
No.
She's the lead writer was the lead writer over at Naughty Dog. She wrote the Uncharted series. She's just this great writer in the industry.
No, I don't play games written by females.
Oh, okay, I forgot about that. But no, a great writer. And she, you know, probably one of the top 3, 4, 5 in the industry. And she spoke out about this, and she said, you know, hey, I'm in the video game industry, and I can tell you that these people get worked like a dog, voice actors included, but everybody does. You know, this is something that is going to have to change soon. So. And it's true. I mean, like any industry, well, I wouldn't say just entertainment industry, any tech industry, any industry that has like hard-coded deadlines, you're going to have these like crazy moments. Mm-hmm. But your job as an employer morally is to make sure that you're looking out for them as much as you'd be looking out for yourself, if not more, because they're not getting paid as much.
Your employees long hours and working them like a dog, you have to at least recompense them appropriately, or you'll end up with an industry like public education where everyone's just like dying inside when they go to work.
Yeah. Just theoretically, right?
Just theoretically. I've never heard of that actually happening, but I hear stories. Speaking of pedagogy and children's education, have you seen this, the APA?
I've heard of them.
No, sorry, the AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Oh God!
For years, they've with screen time, because that's like a brave new world for parents. Is like, oh, give their kid an iPad, give their kid an iPhone, like entertain them in the car. Like, it's a good babysitter, or at least an easy one. But they've had this kind of blanket recommendation, like limit your children's screen time to no more than 2 hours per day, right? Like, that's been their recommendation. Well, they just released an actual personalized. They actually started looking at it and saying, oh, hey, maybe we should look at it by age group and by content instead of just like 2 hours for everyone ages 0 to 18 forever. And
I should underline the fact that I'm very aware of that deadline. Remember, I did video game research, and that's completely arbitrary. And who the fuck is the AAP to tell me that? I don't care. You're a medical. What the fuck do you know? Like, you don't know our literature. You've never done any studies based on this stuff. What the fuck do you know? That'd be like the American Dentistry Association being like, yeah, so we think that when you guys play basketball, you should definitely put nice shoes on. We're going to make an official announcement. You'd be like, I don't fucking care. You don't know anything about shoes. You know, the ultra-crepidarians.
Well, with that prologue, let me tell you what the recommendations are now that they've released new ones. Under 18 months, and maybe you can give me maybe you know more about this than the AAP, so maybe you can tell me if this is actually good advice or not, because it's really making the rounds with parents now. So either you myth bust this, Jeremiah. Under 18 months, they say avoid screens altogether, except for apps like Skype and FaceTime, where they can, you know, chat with like grandparents or whatever. So far, what do you think? Under 18 months, avoid screens altogether, except for FaceTime and Skype.
I mean, sure. Here's okay. So the reason why they're saying that is because they may be mildly aware of developmental psychology 101. Maybe they heard of that class, because they certainly don't have to take it when you go to be a pediatrician. So first of all, shut the fuck up. What are you doing on the stage? But second, sorry, this is a long standing. I've had a bitch at a lot of psychiatrists. I'm like, you've never taken a psychology class in your life. You don't tell me what a diagnosis is. I tell you. And I end up they either terminate our relationship, our professional relationship, or they acquiesce because it's just true. You cannot contest that, because I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what your patient should be taking psychotropically. You don't tell me. Actually, I've had more training in that than you have in psychology. So no, I tell you what the diagnosis is. Anyway, so with that said, development of psychology. Yes, absolutely. The thing is there's a lot of connections that are made whenever you're when you're developing in the first 18 months, when it has to do with FaceTime, like literal FaceTime, face-to-face. So those social cues and those social norms are very important. Like autism, for example, can be
caused by vaccinations.
It's caused by vaccinations. Do not get vaccinated. No, see, I'm a psychologist, or almost psychologist. I can't tell you whether you should or not, right? Would I even be invited to the stage? Fucking no. Anyway, the point is that there's a lot of developmental things that happen right there. Autism is correlated, for example, with the lack of FaceTime when they're children. Not that either causes it or is necessary for that. It's just correlated, right? We don't really know why, but it definitely is there. And many people think that, remember, autism, one of the hallmarks is they can't understand social cues. So many people think that that's part of that. So yeah, there's definitely, limited. I wouldn't say avoid it altogether, but because I don't think there's any reason to do that. And even if you did, moms are going to put something on occasionally, or dads, we're doing shit sometimes, right? You have to, like, you don't have to put something on, but by putting something on, you can put it on for like maybe a show, like 20 minutes, and then just let them watch something. You're like, all right, I'm going to do laundry. I can't be disturbed. Or cook, for example. Cooking's a big one, because you can't walk away. You can walk away from laundry if something goes wrong, but if the kid like pulls something down on themselves, and they fucking do, they always try to kill themselves. But anyway, so far so good. I'm okay with that, but I think it's a little strong language. And especially from the wrong source. I don't really care what they think, but
yeah. So again, I think this is a step in the right direction, because 2 hours blanket like everything, every age, every content. At least they're trying to be more accurate than they were in the past. So next thing is 18 to 24 months. They say you can introduce some digital media, but it needs to be high quality programming. So in other words, just like educational stuff, or things that are interesting, that aren't just like, I don't know what that means, high quality programming. Yeah. They don't even define it. It's just like they don't want to be watching any old garbage, I guess. And between ages 2 to 5, then they say limit to high quality programming 1 hour per day. And they are asking parents, one thing that they've specified now is that they want the parents to co-watch these programs with their children.
Yeah. I guess.
Then 6 and older, they want consistent limits placed on time spent using media, making sure it's not getting in the way of adequate sleep, physical activity, and other healthy behaviors. And then the last recommendation is that parents designate media-free times for the entire family, such as during dinner or while driving, and that families should create media-free zones in the house, such as in bedrooms, which, good luck with that.
Is there some medical reason for that? Why would they? I don't understand why they're saying anything about this. Is there some disease you can catch from that?
I haven't read this shows up in pediatrics. I haven't read the actual article. I'm reading a summary of the article on Gizmodo.
I'm just kidding. Of course
maybe
not.
They have some research. I don't know. It seems kind of like more like moralizing this. Make sure you have family time and that no one pulls out their phones. If you actually want to read the paper, it's on Council on Communications and Media. It's called Media Use in School-Age Children and Adolescents.
And while you're at it, make sure you look up the paper that I'm trying to publish about dentistry. Except that doesn't matter, and shut up. So
salty.
I am, dude. And they're not crazy. The problem is moms, dads, you go to your pediatrician and you ask a couple questions like, hey, what should I do about this? They just don't think about what they do or don't know. But my problem is this. It's the exact same when I have a problem when someone says like they're like a social worker and somebody says, oh, my psychiatrist or my psychologist, or says something that's, they're not, and they don't correct them. That bugs me, because I'm like, okay, if we want any fidelity at all within our professional relationship or within our profession in general, you're going to have to correct people even if it stings, right? Like if someone says like, Jeremiah, you do surgery. I'd be like, or my surgeon. I'd be like, I'm not a surgeon. I'd make way more money if I was a surgeon, but no, I'm not a surgeon, right? I'd have to correct them if they jumped over my head. I would, at least, because I have some fidelity. But in our field, the problem is a lot of people say doctor, and then, yes, we're doctors. Psychologists are doctors, but not a medical doctor. There's some confusion there, right? Anyway, but the point is they ask their pediatrician, and their pediatrician, here's the problem that bugs me, is they don't answer by saying, I'm not real familiar with the developmental literature because I literally never had to take any classes on it, but there are professionals that you can ask for that, right? Or just go look it up yourself. I'm not trying to drum up business for myself. I'm just saying we're not the right people, right? I don't know. That bugs me. Or like when your fucking acupuncturist tells you what to eat. I'm like, you don't know anything about dietetics. Shut up. Or dietitian. About diets in general. Shut up. It bugs me. Yoga teacher tells you what to eat or how to work out or something. I don't know. That's not your profession. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just have some humility. So, yeah, I don't give a fuck what they say. But I do like that as far as there is a reason why you should definitely spend family time together. Kids don't have the same. So when you have a kid, right, as a parent, there are chemical things that happen, right? But that's a stupid thing to say. The point is there are bonds formed even if you don't want them there, right? And it facilitates more bonding, right? So it not only is, yes, you have this initial burst, but that initial burst leads into more facilitation of more bonding, right? So the parents get that. But here's the depressing thing about being a parent. It's fucking unilateral. That doesn't happen. They have no different kind of connection to their parents than they would another kind of friend, right? So this is why, you yearn to hug your kids, and you're like, there's a day I can't hug them anymore. But kids never say that with their parents. Well, of course not. But they never, they're never like, oh, I'm missing another step with my parents. I'll never go on another trip with them again. It doesn't.
Right. You never hear about college age, hey, make sure you call your kids in college every week because they want to hear from you. It's always the advice goes the other way. Call your mom, call your dad. They want to hear from you.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And exactly. You never hear people telling grandparents, go visit your grandchildren. You'll never see that of course it just doesn't happen. But the point is the psychological reason because of that, or is because of that unilateral kind of bias. And so to get buy-in from your kids for a parent, the reason why I bring this up, not to depress you, but because it's real fucking talk. If you want to get buy-in from your kids, you need to be a walking secondary reinforcer, which means every time when you call their name, you're not chastising them, right? You're actually interacting in a good way. For example, hey, Elijah, he comes over and I go, hey, I got you some candy or whatever, right? Something positive. And as long as those positive outweigh the negative, usually by a 1-to-1 ratio, but some people suggest 2-to-1. I don't really think that's true. I think it's too heavy-handed. But as long as it outweighs the times you're calling them for a bad thing, then they'll actually pay attention. On top of that, it lowers their attentional threshold. So when they hear their name, they're more likely to turn around. Because it's actually an indicator whenever somebody says, my kid doesn't listen when I call his name, I'm like, that's actually says more about you as a parent than it does the kid. The rat's always right. He's not responding for a reason. And beyond that, there are psychological ways to lower that attentional threshold. And people are like, oh, he has a hearing problem. And then they go get his ears checked and oh, they're fine. Oh, well, I don't know. He must be ADHD. I'm like, maybe that's a rule-out disorder. So first we got to check everything else. And no, you're parenting incorrectly. Here's how you do it. So anyway, with this, yes, what you're doing with those family times is getting buy-in, right? Your kids are more likely to, if you're doing things for them and they see it and they understand it and you're interacting with them in a positive way, your relationship with them is going to be more important. So if you say something like, you disappointed me, if you're a absent dad or an absent mom, it doesn't fucking matter. They're like, great, I disappointed dad. Who cares, right? So, but if you've interacted with them in a positive way, more often than not, if I look at my kids and I say, you disappointed me, my son cried the other day when I said that. And I was just we were talking about sports. I wasn't being weird. I didn't say you disappointed me. I said, it wasn't, I said something he said, were you proud of me? I was like, yeah, definitely. He's like, do you think that I made progress? And I was like, I think we should probably practice more, practice more soccer because, the other kids are putting a lot of time. So you may have noticed, they're kicking the ball a lot further. They're a little better. And then he's like, oh, well, then I forgot what he asked, but I was like, yeah, it's fine. We'll just kick the ball around a little more. And then I look back there again, he was crying because he gives a shit about what I say, right?
Just trade his fantasy roster for another team, and now he's like, oh, I'm super sad.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to have that impact. But the point is he cares. And if I say I'm disappointed in you because he does something like one time he went behind my back and watched a TV show in bed, or on his little phone, and I was like, dude, I'm disappointed in you. That's terrible. And the reason why is because I spend so much time with him, good quality time. So yes, there's a psychological reason to do that. Is it because of some weird brain disease or whatever the fuck the pediatrics think? No. How about you stay in your lane, bro? It bugs me so bad. I'm not gonna get out there and tell a physical therapist if he's moving someone's leg around. I'm not gonna be like, hey, just my suggestion, only do that twice. You're doing it 20, do it twice. And he'll be like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, oh, excuse me, I'm Dr. Bean. They'd be like, doctor and what? They'll ask him. They'll ask me. But yeah, I don't ask pediatricians. Jesus, our field, man. Anyway,
So long story short, overall, probably good advice, but take it with a grain of salt because it's mostly guesswork. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yes, of course, it's because we don't know enough about how screen. Well, we kind of do though. Let me see. It's better safe than sorry, and there's a lot of positive behaviors that you can be doing, and it's important for kids to learn to be bored. It's a terrible thing to say. It makes me a dad that's not super fun all the time, but sometimes I'm like, it's good to be bored. Creativity is born out of boredom, very commonly, and there's so many like weird skills I have nowadays that like have helped me, right? And on top of that, like what to do when I'm bored, that I gained when I was a kid when I was bored. So
yeah.
I don't know, like why it's like whenever they're like, oh, my kid doesn't like to play outside. I'm like, well, what is he doing instead? And they go, well, he plays video games. I'm like, well, nothing's more fun than video games if you're a kid. Of course not. Sometimes you got to limit yourself. And then it's the Premack principle. Something else that had a less chance of that behavior being manifesting now goes up because there's something to do. Now you can't play video games. So yeah, we need to limit ourselves.
Yeah.
But anyway.
You limit your options to Trump and someone else, like anyone else is going to become a better option.
Yeah, even Gary Johnson. Name 3 world leaders. I cannot.
I give 2 shits.
But I do want to be president, however.
So good. Yeah, that was. Oh yeah, one more little news story. I had Civilization 6. Team Liquid just drafted the first ever pro esports Civilization player. I thought that was an interesting investment. You don't really see Civ as an esport, but apparently they're trying to make it a thing.
Huh. That's weird. I don't think that's going to work out.
Yeah, it feels like the game is just too long. Like an esport needs to be roughly like 30 minutes tops, like to be an interesting sport.
Yeah, and also, yeah, definitely that. And also the first thing I thought of was Blizzard has put in a lot of time into what makes an interesting esport because, you know, their StarCraft game took off without their knowledge, and they were like, oh, that was weird, StarCraft 1, you know? Mm-hmm. And so they've been trying to hone it in ever since, and now they're making changes as developers to make things more exciting. And one of them is uncertainty, right? You have to have these moments of like intense uncertainty that are resolved immediately. So, for example, you play a card like in Hearthstone. You play a card that has an unknown outcome. It has one of 2 outcomes, one of which win the game, one of which won't. You know. Mm-hmm. And they play it, and then the outcome that does win the game, then you're like, oh! I mean, you have these big moments, and those big moments is what draws people to the esport. Civ doesn't have.
Yeah, Civ,
I mean,
it's kind of it's a arithmetic progression of winning. So you're just going up at a constant rate, or you're going down at a constant rate. Whereas like exponential, like ups and downs, are what makes an interesting esport.
Yeah, like StarCraft, for example, is an RTS, and it's not the building part. Nobody really cares about. But even my kids will watch if like once the big battle happens, you're like, oh, this is it. Everything's on the line.
Or look at games like Overwatch, where it starts off with an asymmetrical map, so you have someone pushing and somebody trying to defend. And at first, the attackers have a huge advantage because the respawn times to get back to that point are so low that they can do these 1-for-1 trade-offs and make steady progress. Plus, they have a lot of ways to attack, ways to flank, like that initial place of conflict is so hard to defend that the attackers have an initial advantage. But as time goes on, the balance kind of shifts till you're at the very end, and it's just a long straight haul with no like super easy to defend, and the defenders are coming back right away. So like no matter what happens, there's this kind of uncertainty of like, are we going to race? It always comes down to a race against the clock, and those last few seconds are crucial because the way the map is designed is this slowly shifting balance of power. Whereas Civilization is just kind of like, all right, well, he clearly made the right decisions on that tech tree, so this is going to play out the way it has to.
Yeah, and the people who will watch it, right? There's like it's like in jiu-jitsu. If you watch jiu-jitsu, you're not going to be impressed because you're not going to be excited because there aren't these big moments of, it's this slow, methodical advancing of position or denying someone an advanced position, and then you win, right? Yeah. It's not that fun. But if you watch not boxing but MMA, where knockouts are very common because they have smaller gloves and they keep their hands down because legs are available to be kicked in order to take downs. So they'll bring the hands down occasionally. And when they do, if you watch 2 heavy hitters, anyone will watch that. Even at a bar, people don't know what they're doing. They're like, look at these 2 guys. That guy's teeing off on each other, right? And they love it because at any point that guy could get knocked out and game over, right? That's what makes it so electrifying. But if it's 2 grapplers, it's just not as exciting. You're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's like watching a chess game where it's like, okay, well, this is kind of the inevitability of how it's going to play out based on the decisions that have been made.
Exactly. And there are moments that are pretty cool if you're really into chess, where you're like, oh, look, he traded up. Even though he's only got pawns now, he traded up for a knight. That's cool. He's still going to lose, but, that's an interesting thing he did. Whereas, when you've got these big moments of these, coin toss kind of ideas, those are going to be the moments of electricity. So yeah, Civ probably not gonna happen. At least with anyone beyond hardcore Civ fans.
Yeah, just like chess has some hardcore chess fans that are going to be riveted, but
Yeah.
most people aren't going to pick it up and become interested in the sport through watching the games. Like I think a good esport has to make you interested in the game, even if you've never played it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep, and that'll draw you into playing it, and then playing it will draw you into watching it. Because there are plenty of games I play that I don't really care to watch. Like I love playing basketball, for example, but I don't watch it. I'll watch it if it's on, like if I'm at a sports bar or something. But I don't really follow it. But I'll play it. If someone's playing, I'll go play. I love playing basketball. So, yeah.
Cool. That was my last news story. Do you have anything else popping up?
I mean, nothing huge. There's like little stuff like Overwatch. The character Sombra that's coming up. She's like a hacker person. That'll be fun. But other than that, not really. No.
Cool. Well, then this has been our news and reviews episode for October. We'll have another one when there's news to talk about. But until then.
Yeah, by the way, we did get a lot of we've been getting these weird comments on our podcast. Have you probably didn't get notice of those, did you?
No.
No. Hold on. I'll read a couple of them off. I think there might be like a few people who are going through backlogs or something. But I'll read a couple of them. Some of them are like weird, what are they called? Spam bots, because it's like, it's an interesting article you wrote, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's a podcast, buddy. And it's like, check out my this.
It's an interesting article you wrote. Do you know you can earn $400 an hour by working at home?
Yeah. Oh yeah, one was 133. Remember designing your own game that we were talking, or designing your dream game?
Yeah, last episode.
Yeah. Jake Vortex commented. I don't know who that is, but pretty cool last name if that's your real last name. I like the idea of the elemental powers based game. I thought of something similar as a pen and paper RPG for a video game. I think you could do something similar to Invoker in Dota 2. I don't know who the Invoker is, do you? In Dota?
No, never played Dota.
Yeah, but there's a lot of Dota fans that listen, they'll know. Where you queue up abilities that you want to be able to use. I would think you'd want to make it a lot richer with a whole skill tree of abilities. The other thing I would look at is having multiple mana bars, one for each element, which I like. That reminds me of Guild Wars 2. Remember the Elementalist? Well,
yeah,
all of them.
That would force you to switch between the different powers instead of focusing on one.
Yeah, like Legend of Korra, sort of idea. I haven't played the game, but I mean, what it looked like in the gameplay. Mana regen rate would depend on what elements are in your environment. Which is a pretty cool twist. You make mana, and skill tree would be. Wait, your make mana. He probably just meant make mana, and the skill tree would depend on what your primary and secondary skills are. Certain opponents might also be able to do things to deprive you of one mana element to force you to improvise. So a lot like Airbender or Avatar.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting, again, world building. It's an interesting system of like the four elements and just how people are using them against each other. So I think there's a lot of cool gameplay potential for that kind of thing. And it's not just Avatar that uses four elements, right? Like D&D has like fire, earth, wind, water. Like those are the main elements that make up the world. So you can do a lot of things in any system.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Geomancer in Tactics.
Yeah.
Depending on what tile you were standing on, it would dictate your power and then like what did what. So yeah, I like that. I like the idea. I'd have to think about it whether that'd be a fun game if you put too much dependency on what tile you were on. Seems like you would if you could make it a one-player game. But if you're making like a random, like a roguelike or something, it might be just frustrating.
Yeah, it takes some level design that was purposeful. But yeah, you could do some fun stuff with that. I remember 4th edition, one of the most fun classes, there was an elementalist, and depending on what elementalist you chose, like Tim made a fire elementalist who just was like, he could scorch around and like had a lot of movement based powers based on fire, and he could do a lot of damage. But the adventure I was running, like the big boss, like the big final set piece battle was against a phoenix who was immune to fire damage, so he was just completely useless for that whole boss fight.
Yeah,
so it was kind of an interesting thing because he was so strong in every other fight, because it's Tim and you can make the most min-maxed characters available. But then it was like, here's the dark side. When you fight a phoenix, you're just like basically throwing rocks at it because that's all you can do.
Yep. Oh, and we got a couple. I'll just read one more. We got quite a few comments, but one of them was on our episode 3, Girl Gamers. I don't know why these people are. I mean, I appreciate it. I like it, but Lorian, I won't call the last name, but says I play as a male character. It's a female. I play as a male character about half the time. I guess I just like how the characters looked more. I play as a girl all day long IRL. Why not mix it up? And I freaking love paintball. So I don't really know the paintball part, but I'll have to go rewatch that episode to know.
Nice. But
yeah, thanks for the comment, Lorian. Thanks everyone for going through those backlogs, these random people. Really appreciate it. So yeah. But anyway, all right, we've had you on the in your earbuds too long, probably. Might as well let you guys go. Do you have any closing statements, David?
No, just keep on gaming, and hopefully by next time I will have figured out how to make Legend of Korra work for my stupid PC.
All right, man. See you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.